A brilliant mind doesn't always lead to a happy life. Sometimes the higher your intelligence, the heavier your thoughts become. A gifted young man was always the smartest in every classroom. Everyone admired his intelligence, but no one noticed that he often ate lunch alone. He had answers to every question except one. Why do I feel so disconnected from everyone else? What if having a high IQ isn't just a gift, but also a psychological burden? They think more than they speak. Have you ever noticed that the quietest person in the room is often the one paying the most attention? While everyone else is trying to be heard, they're trying to understand. A young man started a new job. His coworkers thought he was shy. Some even believed he lacked confidence because he rarely spoke during meetings. But every time he did speak, the entire room fell silent. Because while others were busy reacting, he had been observing, listening, connecting details that everyone else had missed. Psychologists say people with high IQs often spend more time processing information before they speak. They don't just hear words, they notice tone, facial expressions, body language, hidden meanings. Their mind is constantly asking, why did they say that? What are they really trying to communicate? What am I missing? To some people, their silence seems strange, but silence isn't always a lack of confidence. Sometimes, it's a sign of deep thinking. The smartest people often understand that words have power. Once they're spoken, they can't be taken back, so they choose them carefully. They'd rather listen for 10 minutes than speak for one without purpose. But there's a hidden cost. Because they're so busy analyzing, people often misunderstand them. They get labeled as quiet, reserved, or even unfriendly, when the truth is, their mind is simply too busy observing to compete with the noise. The irony is, the person who says the least may understand the most, because intelligence isn't always the loudest voice in the room. Sometimes, it's the one that's quietly listening while everyone else is talking. And perhaps that's why the deepest minds often speak the fewest words, not because they have nothing to say, but because they've learned that listening can reveal more than talking ever will. They constantly question everything. Why? It's such a small word, yet it has the power to change everything. While most people accept the world as it is, some people can't stop asking questions. A young woman sat in her university classroom. The professor explained a complex idea, and everyone nodded in agreement. But she quietly raised her hand and asked, "But why does it work that way?" The room fell silent. Some students rolled their eyes. Others thought she was overthinking. But she wasn't trying to challenge anyone. She genuinely wanted to understand. Psychologists say people with high IQs often have an intense curiosity. Their minds aren't satisfied with simple answers. They don't just ask what happened. They ask why it happened, how it happened, and what would happen if things were different. Their curiosity doesn't stop when the conversation ends. It follows them home. They question their own beliefs, their own decisions, even the meaning of success, happiness, and life itself. But this gift comes with a hidden cost. When you question everything, finding certainty becomes difficult. While others quickly make up their minds, you're still exploring every possibility. Sometimes, the search for truth becomes so endless that your own thoughts begin to exhaust you. People may see you as difficult, skeptical, or someone who complicates simple things. But the truth is, you aren't looking for arguments. You're looking for understanding. Because to a curious mind, every answer is simply the beginning of another question. And perhaps that's what truly separates highly intelligent people. They don't believe they've learned enough. They believe there's always more to discover. Sometimes, the smartest person in the room isn't the one with all the answers. It's the one who's brave enough to keep asking the questions no one else dares to ask. They overthink even the smallest decisions. Some people make a decision and move on. Others replay every possibility before making even the smallest choice. A young woman spends 15 minutes replying to a simple text message. She writes it, deletes it, rewrites it again, wondering, what if they misunderstand me? In the end, she sends nothing at all. Psychologists say highly analytical people often overthink because they can see too many possibilities at once. Their mind isn't looking for a decision. It's looking for the perfect one. But while they're busy searching for certainty, life quietly moves forward. Sometimes, the greatest obstacle isn't making the wrong choice. It's being too afraid to make any choice at all. They feel misunderstood more often than they admit. Have you ever felt like no matter how clearly you explain yourself, people still don't understand you? A young man shared an idea during a meeting. He had spent hours thinking it through, but before he could finish, someone laughed and said, "You're making it too complicated." From that day on, he stopped sharing his thoughts, not because he had nothing to say, but because he felt no one was willing to listen. Psychologists say people with high IQs often think in layers, connecting ideas that others may not immediately see. As a result, they can feel misunderstood, even when they're surrounded by people. Over time, they speak less, not because they're arrogant, but because they're tired of explaining themselves. Sometimes, the deepest loneliness isn't being alone, it's feeling unseen in a room full of people. Because one of the greatest struggles of an intelligent mind isn't finding the right answer, it's finding someone who truly understands the question. They struggle to silence their own mind. The world goes to sleep, but their mind doesn't. A young man lies in bed at 2 a.m. His room is silent, yet inside his head, thousands of thoughts are still awake. He replays conversations, questions old decisions, plans for tomorrow, worries about the future. Psychologists say highly intelligent people often have extremely active minds, making it difficult to switch off their thoughts. The more they think, the harder it becomes to find peace. Sometimes, the greatest challenge isn't solving life's problems, it's finding a moment when your own mind finally becomes quiet. Because even the brightest minds need a little silence to rest. They are their own biggest critic. Have you ever met someone who accomplished incredible things, yet still believed they weren't good enough? A young man spent years working toward his dream. Late nights, sacrifices, failures. Finally the day arrived. He received the promotion he had always wanted. His family celebrated. His friends congratulated him. Everyone told him, "You should be proud of yourself." But that night, as he sat alone in his room, he wasn't thinking about what he had achieved. He was thinking about the one mistake he made during the presentation. One small mistake, hidden inside 1,000 successes. Psychologists say people with high IQs often hold themselves to incredibly high standards. Their minds naturally notice details, flaws, and imperfections that most people would never even see. While others celebrate the finish line, they're already thinking about what they could have done better. Their greatest competition isn't another person. It's the impossible version of themselves they created in their own mind. The painful truth is, the smarter they become, the easier it is to see how much they still don't know. That's why success doesn't always bring peace. Sometimes it only raises the standard. People admire their intelligence, but few realize how exhausting it is to live with a voice inside your head that is never satisfied. A voice that whispers, "You could have worked harder. You should have done better. This still isn't enough." And over time, that voice becomes louder than every compliment they receive. But here's what many highly intelligent people eventually learn. Perfection is a destination that doesn't exist. No amount of success will ever silence an inner critic that's determined to find flaws. Real growth begins the moment you stop asking, "Was I perfect?" and start asking, "Did I become a little better than I was yesterday?" Because the greatest battle for an intelligent mind isn't proving its worth to the world. It's learning to show itself the same kindness it so easily gives to everyone else. Being highly intelligent isn't about knowing all the answers. Sometimes, it's about carrying more questions than most people ever will. A high IQ may help you solve complex problems, but it doesn't protect you from loneliness, self-doubt, or emotional pain. In fact, some of the brightest minds spend their lives searching for something no equation can solve. Inner peace. If you recognized yourself in this video, remember this. Your intelligence isn't defined by how much you know. It's defined by how you use your mind to understand yourself and others. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more psychology videos. And before you go, answer this in the comments. Do you think having a high IQ makes life easier, or does it sometimes make happiness harder to find?